Hello friends, welcome to Mr. Moon Designs. My name's Louisa. Today I'm going to show you how to make a beautiful jewelry set that I created using the beads from Didi's Deluxe bead box for the month of August. Now if you're not familiar with that box, I'll leave some information down below along with a link to the website and a coupon code in case you're interested. And if you're new to jewelry making, hopefully you'll get some tips and helpful techniques to help you in your journey. And if you're advanced, hopefully you'll enjoy this video as well. We're going to make 2 necklaces, a bracelet, and a pair of earrings. And if you want to skip forward to any portion of the video, I'll leave some timestamps down below. And don't forget that I always model my jewelry at the end of my videos, so please stick around for that. As you can see, these pieces feature elegant mother of pearl shell beads, shimmering black moonstone beads, and a whole bunch of sparkling crystals. I'm going to show you how to make this gorgeous coordinated collection, which can be worn together or separately. The warm earthy tones paired with the gold accents and shimmering beads make this set not only versatile and timeless, but also very pretty. And I can't wait to show you the design process and how to make this set. So let's go ahead and get started. Here are some of the beads we're going to use for today's project. As you saw in the intro, we're going to build 2 necklaces, a bracelet, and a pair of earrings. Now these are just some of them. I'm going to show you the rest in just a few seconds. There were so many different types. I didn't want to put all of them on the table at the same time. And guys, if you haven't seen the unboxing for the August box, you really should go check it out. That box was amazing. I'll leave a link to the unboxing video down below. The beads were so beautiful. I knew I had to use beads from every single strand. And I am going to go over these sizes real quick with you, but keep in mind that I always leave a list of the materials down below in the description section in case you didn't buy this box and you want to search for them on the internet. And for those of you who are not familiar with Didi's Deluxe bead box, it's not a subscription, it's a limited edition box and it comes out every month. And because it's a limited edition, they sell out very quickly. And of course the August box is already sold out. You really do have to stay on top of when they release a box. And the best way to do it is just to follow them on their Facebook group page. But just so you know, they usually put their boxes up for sale on the 12th of each month. They are based out of Canada, and the boxes sell for $39.99, and that's in Canadian dollars. In US dollars, it fluctuates because of the currency exchange rate. And right now it's listed as $29.42 in US dollars. But anyway, let me go ahead and go over these beads with you. These are mother of pearl shell coin beads, and they measure 8mm in size, and they are irregular. The ones down here are natural stripe mother of pearl shell beads, and these measure 6mm in size. These are natural black moonstone beads, and these measure 6mm in size. And down here we have natural freshwater baroque pearls, and these measure between 7 and 8mm in size. Let me show you the other beads. These are called Hishi crystal disc beads, and they measure between 6 and 4mm in size. And down here we have some faceted crystal rondelles, and they measure 8 by 6mm. And as you can see, there are various colors there. And here we have some brown jade Hishi rondelles, and these measure 4 by 2mm. And down here I have the beads that I'm going to use for the pendants. The heart, the flower, and the butterfly came in the Inspired by Czech designer strand, and so did that bead cap right there. Now these 3 bead caps came from a previous box. They came from the November of 2024 edition. I think it was called Holiday Elegance. But you can use any 6mm size bead cap, which is what these are. And they don't have to be filigree style either. I'm actually going to use a bunch of them on the Baroque pearl beads. And since those pearls are so pretty, I didn't want to cover them up with a solid bead cap, which is why I chose these. Filigree bead caps have those openings, which is perfect when you're trying to show off the bead. So everything that I just showed you are for the 2 necklaces. I'll bring out the items for the bracelet and the earrings later on. Let me show you what else we'll be using for the necklaces. I'm going to be using some 22 gauge wire, and this one is in a gold color, as you can see. I'm also going to be using some jump rings. They're 18 karat gold plated, and they're 5mm in size. And obviously these 2 items did not come in the box. And of course we'll be using a lobster clasp, an extended chain, and some ball head pins. But I'll bring those items later on when we get ready to use them. So now let's go ahead and get started. Here's a lineup of the bead pattern. Both the necklaces and the bracelet are going to have the exact same bead pattern. So this project is super easy, guys. It really is. Now, of course, you don't have to follow this pattern, and you certainly don't have to use all these different kinds of beads. But the nice thing about this pattern is that it looks random, even though it's not. And you can look at it two different ways. We have 4 6mm beads, but I'm alternating between a moonstone bead and a striped mother of pearl bead. Moonstone, mother of pearl. So that's one configuration. And then the rest of the beads, the coin bead, the crystal discs, the jade rondelles, the faceted rondelle, and this baroque pearl are more like decorative beads or fancier beads, if that makes any sense. So there is some structure, but like I said, once you link them all together into a strand, it's going to look very random, which is exactly what I want. So anyway, today's project is going to be super easy. Let me just show you real quick. I have a piece of wire here. It's the 22 gauge wire. Using my flat nose pliers, and these are called tapered flat nose pliers, I'm going to grab the wire at the top like this at about 3/8 of an inch down, bend it, grab the end with my round nose pliers, making sure that it's flush with my barrels, and I'm going to form a loop. You want to make sure your loop is closed, and you want to make sure that it's centered as well. Let me just center it. Just like that. And now I'm going to slide the bead on. And by the way, the reason I'm using 22 gauge is because some of the holes on these pearl beads are pretty small. And for those of you who are concerned about durability, you shouldn't be, because 22 gauge is pretty strong. Normally for simple loops, I'll use either 18, 20, or 22 gauge. Once you get into the thinner gauges like 24 or 26, you definitely have to do wrap loops. So now using my flat nose pliers, I'm going to grab the wire right above the bead, leaving just a little tiny space, as you can see. I'm going to line up my bottom loop, and I'm going to bend it. Cut off the excess with the flush side of the cutter facing the bead like this, and I'm also leaving 3/8 of an inch. Grab the end, making sure it's flush with my barrels, and I'm going to form another loop. I always like to straighten my loops, so I'm going to grab it with these pliers, and with these pliers I'm going to grab the other one and make sure that they're lined up. So that's one beaded component. Pretty easy. Let me show you another one. Here's another piece of wire. Once again, I'm grabbing it at 3/8 of an inch down, bend it, grab the end, form a loop, slide a bead on, grab the wire above the bead, line up the bottom loop, bend it, cut off the excess, leaving 3/8 of an inch, grab it with my round nose pliers, and form a loop. Let me line up my loops. These look like they're pretty lined up. So that's 2, and I'm going to show you one more because this is very repetitive, so I don't want to repeat the same thing over and over because the video will end up being too long. And by the way, here's a little tip. When you're cutting your wire, you want to use the flush side of your cutters this way, so it's facing the end of the wire. And that's because this side of the pliers gives you a flush cut, obviously, whereas this side is angled and it gives you a pointed cut. I hope that makes sense. I know most of you know it, but if you're new, you may not realize that. So I'm going to use this end. This is the end that has a flush cut. And once again, I'm going to bend it at 3/8 of an inch down. Grab the end with the pliers, the round nose pliers. Form a loop. I don't always go into that detail, but I thought I'd let you know today. So now I'm going to go ahead and slide my beads on. These 2 discs, these are so pretty. I absolutely love the sparkle. I'm going to grab the wire right above these, and since these are disc beads, it's going to be real difficult to get real close. In any case, you still want that space there. Line up the bottom loop, bend it. I'm going to use the flush side now, and I'm going to cut at 3/8 of an inch down. You know, sometimes when I'm in a hurry, I don't even pay attention to that. I just do it, to be honest. And now let me grab the end of the wire and form a loop. but it's a good habit to get into. It really is. Line up my loops. So there's another one. And to connect them is super easy. Here's some jump rings. I'm going to grab one. I like to use bent nose pliers for this. I'm going to slide this first component in and the next one. Close up my jump ring. Hopefully the camera is focusing. Sometimes when there's something below, like these beads here, it doesn't focus too well. But anyway, that's how you do it. Very easy. And let me show you again. I'm going to slide this component into it. And the next one. Close up my jump ring. And now I have 3 connected. Very, very simple. And that's how I'm going to do all of them. So once again, in this configuration, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 beaded components. This one's the only one that's going to have the bead caps. And I'm just going to keep building beaded components and connecting them until I get the length that I need for each strand. So in order to save time in today's video, I'm going to go ahead and create my strands off camera. I'm going to do the exact same thing over and over. I'm going to use the exact same technique, building my beaded components and connecting them with jump rings. And my cat's actually snoring right now. I don't know if you can hear him. He might as well be attached to me. He's always with me. He's either on my lap or sitting behind me on my chair. So anyway, let me go ahead and create my strands and I'll see you in a few moments. Well, here are all my strands. And boy, it took me quite a while because as you can see, we have lots of beaded components. But you know what? I put my music on and I just relax as I'm doing it. It's actually very therapeutic. But anyway, the top strands for the shorter necklace measure 9.5 inches each. These longer ones measure 12.5, and the short ones down here for the bracelet, and they measure 4.5 inches each. I'm going to be using the Z bead, which measures a little bit over an inch, plus I'll be using some jump rings. So by the time I connect everything, it should be about a 6.5 inch bracelet, which is perfect for me. Obviously, you're going to have to decide how long you want your bracelet, and necklaces as well. And even though I've created all these strands, I still have quite a few beads left over. I mean, look at all these beads. This little box contains so many beads, it's unbelievable. It's definitely worth the money. And of course, when you connect everything with jump rings, it can make your beads go a long way. So anyway, before we assemble everything, we have to make the pendants. So let me get the materials for that. Here are the materials for the pendant we're going to use on the longer necklace. As you can see, I have one of the faceted rondelles, the same ones that I used on the necklace. The heart bead came in the Inspired by Check Designer strand, and so did this little flower bead. I also have a bead cap, and I have one of the Hishi crystal discs. And here I have a ball head pin and a piece of 22 gauge wire. So let me show you how to do this. I'm going to slide the flower bead on first. Let's see where the hole is. It's hard to see because the bead is kind of dark. There it is. And now the crystal. Like that. And these ball head pins are actually very tough. So I'm going to create a simple loop. I'm going to grab it like this, just like I've been doing, right above the bead. Bend it. Cut off the excess, leaving 3/8 of an inch. Grab the end and form a loop. Make sure the loop is closed and centered. So that's done. And now let me work on these beads. Once again, I'm grabbing the wire at 3/8 of an inch down. Bend it, grab the end, and form a loop. I'm going to slide this bead on first, and now the bead cap, and now the heart bead, like so. And now let me go ahead and bend my wire. Cut off the excess. And now I'm going to form a loop. Let me line up my loops. I'm going to open up this loop now. Slide the dangle into it and close it. So there's my pendant. And here are my strands. And by the way, I repeated the exact same bead pattern on both strands, so they're identical. And I wanted this bead at the bottom because I think it's so decorative and so pretty. I'm going to use a 6.5mm jump ring to connect the strands to the pendant. Let me go ahead and open it up. And by the way, for those of you who are new, when you open your jump rings, you should open them like this always. In other words, you don't want to open them that way. I'm going to slide this strand in, and the next one, and now the pendant. And when you close your jump rings, you want to close them the same way, and at the same time, I'm kind of pushing my plies together towards each other to make sure that jump ring closes. And I'm sure you heard that little click. That means that it's pretty close. But in any case, I always flatten them right where the cut is, just to make sure. And that's how I did all of them. And how pretty is this necklace? But anyway, now we're going to connect the clasp, and I'll be using a lobster clasp. I'm also going to attach an extended chain, and I'm going to embellish it with one of the Moonstone beads. You can use any of the beads from the necklace to embellish it. I just thought the Moonstone might be nice. Plus I like to use smaller beads for that. I have another ball head pin. I'm going to go ahead and slide my bead onto it. And let me grab it, bend it, cut off the excess, leaving 3/8 of an inch. Grab the end and form a loop. Just like that. Let me open it up, slide my chain into it, and close it up really well. So that's done. I always save these little pieces for future projects. Or if I'm building prototypes, they come in handy. I have a 5mm jump ring, I've already opened it. I'm going to slide my extended chain into it and one of these strands. Close it up. And here's another one. It's the same size. I'm going to slide the strand into it and the clasp. Close it up. And there's my finished necklace. It's so, so pretty, it really is. I hope you like it as well. And I've already assembled a shorter necklace. I basically did the exact same thing, and the pendant's very similar as well. So let me go ahead and get it. So here are both of them. As you can see, for this one, I used the butterfly bead. I also used one of the faceted rondelles that came in the designer strand. And I did the same thing. I placed the bead cap underneath it, and I used one of the Baroque pearls for the dangle. And as far as the bead pattern, it's the exact same bead pattern that I used for this one. But instead of starting with the Baroque pearls, I started with the coin beads, just to make it a little bit different. And since they both use the same beads pretty much, except for the pendants, of course, you can wear them layered. I do want to model them for you to show you what they look like on. So please hang around for that. So now let's go ahead and assemble the bracelet. Let me get the materials for that. As you can see, I have my 2 strands, and I have my Z bead, which I've already mounted on wire. I've also attached the bar portion of the toggle clasp, a large jump ring. It's the same one that I used on the necklace. It measures 6.5mm across. And on the ring portion, I've attached 2 of the 5mm jump rings. I've also attached a 5mm jump ring here as well. Now, one thing that you need to take into account, and this is kind of important, especially if you're new to this, you need to make sure that the loops on the strands are going to connect properly to both ends, which is why I have a jump ring right there. Because if you don't do that, then your strands aren't going to sit properly and they're going to want to twist. So for example, The jump rings on the strands sit horizontally or parallel to the mat, but the loops on the components sit vertically or perpendicular to the mat. So let me take this one step further and show you what could potentially happen. If you'll notice, this jump ring is horizontal or parallel to the mat, which means that the strands are going to connect properly. The Z bead is also going to connect properly at this end, but at this end we have a problem. We want the bar portion to sit parallel to the mat, but we have a jump ring in between. So that means I need to change the orientation of this loop. I hope that makes sense. It's difficult to understand if you're new, but it's a small detail that's actually very important. So I'm going to change the orientation of this loop on this side of the Z bead. Let me show you. I'm simply going to grab them like this and turn them so they're perpendicular. So now, as you can see, the jump ring that connects the bar portion of the clasp to the Z bead is now vertical because we want that bar portion to be flat. I know I'm being kind of picky, but these are all very important details. So let's take a look at this end now. We know that the beaded components are going to connect properly to that jump ring, so then I needed to add another one to connect properly to the ring portion, because as you can see, that one sits vertically as well. I pretty much go into this with all my videos. I don't know if you guys have noticed that. And I know many of you already know it, especially if you're experienced, but it took me a while to figure that out when I first started. It's something that new jewelry makers don't realize at first. So let's go ahead and connect everything. Now this first connection is actually going to be easy. I don't have to worry about the loops so much, but I will need to worry about it when I connect this end. Let me go ahead and open up this large jump ring. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Let me turn it this way because it's going to be easier for me. So now I need to make sure that my loops are sitting properly. So this one's going to be connected like that. And now let me check this one. And I'm going to connect this one this way. I want to make sure I do this right. There we go. Okay. And there's my finished bracelet. I think it's so pretty. It really is. I love the Z bead. Let me put it on. And because it's a toggle clasp, it's easy to put on. There we go. And by the way, this toggle clasp is 18 karat gold plated as well. Isn't that pretty? I really like it. You have to excuse the markings of my headband. And I swear I'm not dehydrated. I drink water pretty much all morning. So now we have another piece to match the two necklaces. And all we need now is a pair of earrings. So let me get the materials for that. Of course, I couldn't resist the 4-leaf clover shell charms. I absolutely adore them. They're so pretty. But anyway, as you can see, I've already made one. I have the teardrop shaped bead from the designer strand, a bead cap, a Hishi crystal disc bead, and of course the charm. And here I have an ear wire hook and a piece of 22 gauge wire. This is super easy, guys. I'm going to grab it 3/8 of an inch down like I've been doing. Create a loop. Slide the bead on. And now the bead cap. And now the crystal. Like so. Let me bend my wire. Snip off the excess. Grab the end and form a loop. I'm going to line up my loops like I always do. unless they need to be perpendicular. And I think, let me check. Yeah, so these are perpendicular to each other. Let me explain why. You want your earring to sit like this, but you want the charm to face the front. So in order to achieve that, these two loops on the beaded component need to be perpendicular. Otherwise, your charm's going to sit sideways. So let me do that. There we go. So now I'm going to open up this end. Slide my charm into the loop. Close it up. And now I'm going to open up this end and slide the earwire hook into it. Let me double check to make sure I do this right. I think that's right. And close up my loop. And how cute are these earrings? I think they're super cute. So now I'm going to arrange everything on my table so you can see the whole collection. So here's everything. 2 beautiful necklaces, a bracelet, and a pair of earrings. And what I like about these pieces is that they're actually a little on the dainty side because the beads are small. You'll see in just a few moments when I put them on what they look like. It's difficult to see when they're on the table like this, but they're actually very delicate looking when you put them on. And can you imagine making a set like this for a Christmas present for someone? I would love to be the recipient of such a beautiful gift. But anyway, this shows you what you can do with Didi's Deluxe bead boxes. It's so easy to design with them, much easier than other boxes. Sometimes I'll get a box that doesn't inspire me at all, but I can honestly say with Didi's Deluxe bead boxes, I get inspiration every single time, without fail. And I'm not just saying that. But anyway guys, as always, I'm going to go ahead and model these pieces for you. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Have a great day and I'll see you next time. Bye.